Hi guys, out on another walk. Once again another local walk, so it is beautiful. It's a little bit windswept, but I'm just wanting to talk to you today about acceptance. And we talked yesterday about awareness and how being aware of your emotions and being aware that you are programmed into feeling a certain way, and to realize that they are programs and not you, to separate yourself from those programs and remind yourself that your thoughts are simply a set of patterns that you've developed for a long time, since you were a young child, and they don't mean anything. They're just simply judgments and opinions that you've created over the years. The next step in my book, Happy Regardless, is the feeling of acceptance. Now, acceptance is reminding yourself that you are going to sometimes fall into the trap of listening to these patterns that you've experienced for many years. So try to accept that you're not going to get this perfect all the time. One thing that people often ask me when I'm talking about happiness and things like that is, are you always continually happy? Is this it now? Are you always happy? Does happiness is that it? And happiness is much like training a muscle. So if you're not continuing to train the muscle, then if you don't run for a couple of weeks because you're off ill, you're not going to be going back to running the same distance. So happiness is much like that. It's a muscle that you have to keep training, and you have to keep training it on a daily basis. But acceptance is accepting those times. I often used to have it, especially with exercise, and when you're ill, accepting that you can't exercise when you've been doing an exercise regime is quite difficult, because it's not always that easy to just say, okay, I can't do it this week. But you have to accept, if you have an injury or you get really ill, that you can't do it that week. And that's what acceptance is a little bit like. You have a subject, maybe it takes you by surprise, because not all subjects are the same. Some subjects are really easy for you to find happiness with. Other subjects are not so easy. But if it's a subject that takes you by surprise, then you have to allow yourself to realize that it's okay to have those negative feelings sometimes, because you are going to get them. This is a world of variety. A lot of crazy things are happening every day, and sometimes things take you by surprise that you're not really expecting. Something like your car breaks down, or a bill occurs, or something like that you're really not expecting, can throw your mind into a pattern that you might have even forgotten. So I think the key here is to be nice to yourself. Realize that you are going to have these moments, just like you have muscles that you haven't trained for a while, and sometimes you train them for the first time in a long time, and you kind of go, oh, that hurts. Sometimes you get those patterns that just kind of take you by surprise, and they do hurt. So you have to use acceptance. You have to have peace with the fact that it's not all going to be perfect sometimes. And I think that's the greatest thing for happiness. I think trying to be happy and telling yourself that you have to be perfect, or life has to be perfect, or things have to be perfect in order to be happy, is sometimes the bit that throws us off guard and causes us to not be happy. So it's sometimes our perfection, our kind of ideas of things that make us feel like we have to be happy within certain situations, and it's not always easy to kind of be happy sometimes. But that is the key. You can't say, okay, well, this is happening, so I don't accept that, and so I'm going to be upset with myself, because that's probably the worst thing you can do. The best thing you can do when those times come along is, as soon as you're aware that you're in a pattern, that you're going down the path of negativity, just bring it back. Just say, okay, I made a mistake. It's like going for a run and realizing you can't run the full 10k this time. You just kind of go, okay, well, we'll pull it back a little bit, and we'll turn this around, and we'll try again with walking it, for instance. We'll just go back and start a new routine. So don't panic about these times when things don't go perfect. Try not to. I know it's not easy. Sometimes we have this image of perfection which doesn't really help us when it comes to those patterns jumping in and taking us by surprise. And sometimes you can be totally happy, you can be completely in bliss, and all of a sudden a subject pops up that you just weren't expecting, and it can take you off guard and totally take you down the wrong route. So this is what acceptance is. This is the first of my 3 A's. Once you've attained awareness of your emotions, acceptance of them is vital, because they're not always going to be good. But when you have a bad emotion, the best thing you can do is say, this is just a pattern, this isn't me, this isn't me, this is my pattern, this is a programmed part of me, and it's just something that I've kept saying to myself, and it's not the true me. So that is something that I'd like you to think about, is try to develop an acceptance for the things in your life, and try to develop an acceptance for yourself, and realize that things are not always going to be perfect. And the best thing you can do in those situations is bring yourself back as quickly as you can. And so beating yourself up, or telling yourself that you're not good enough, or saying this wasn't right, I shouldn't have fallen into that pattern, is the worst thing you can do. But we all do it, and even when you find yourself doing that, still accept those emotions. Be at peace as much as you can with the emotions in your mind, because they are running on a pattern half of the time. Well, most of the time, all of our thoughts are running on a pattern, but there are some that you will find easier to control and some that you won't find easier to control. Acceptance is probably one of the hardest parts for most people, because you have to remind yourself that it's okay. And sometimes in this world of perfection, we find that difficult to do. So work on accepting yourself. There is a lot more detail in my book. I mean, I can only go so far in these videos as to explaining acceptance and the 3 A's. But definitely check out my book, Happy Regardless, if you are into wanting more information. Okay? And you know what I'm going to say. So stay happy. And have a look at this. Here we are again.